Mecklenburg County health officials say they found measles in the county's wastewater system. However, they say there's no need to be concerned. The measles virus was taken from a sample from the Sugar Creek plant off Park Road in Charlotte. The county's director of public health, Dr. Raynard Washington, says there's been no confirmed cases of measles in the county, and the wastewater detection could have come from someone just visiting the area. The county's offering free walk-in measles vaccines because of this positive test. Dr. Washington says Mecklenburg County has herd immunity because there's a high level of measles vaccinated here. He encourages anyone with vaccine concerns to do their research.
I think the data is clear that the risk of any sort of adverse events following a measles vaccine is very, very low. The common reactions are similar to what we would experience with any vaccine, pain at the site of the injection. And so certainly I would encourage families to talk with us about what their specific concerns are. Oftentimes when we have the hesitancy, it's largely driven by misinformation.
Across North Carolina, there's been at least 5 confirmed cases of measles. Dr. Washington says his office is closely monitoring the ongoing outbreak in South Carolina, where there have been about 300 cases of measles. Now, if you'd like to get vaccinated, we've got a link to find the nearest county clinic to you on WBTV.com.